What's up, psychedelic investors? My name's James, and you're watching The Psychedelic Investor, your number one news source for psychedelic stocks. Today, we have the episode that I have been waiting to make now for like 3 or 4 months since we started this channel, basically. And that is that MindMed is going to the NASDAQ. As some of you may remember, one of my very first episodes was talking about whether or not MindMed will be going to the NASDAQ. So it is very, very exciting that we finally get to make this episode, perhaps a couple months after we thought we were originally going to make it. But nevertheless, MindMed is going to the NASDAQ. So this morning, on April 23rd, the company released a press release announcing that they're going to the NASDAQ exchange, effective on Tuesday, April 27th. So just right off the bat, I'll talk about how if you have any OTC shares, then they will be automatically transferred over to the NASDAQ exchange under a new ticker symbol, which is MMND. So if you have OTC shares, don't worry, it's going to be done automatically for you. You don't have to go and apply for a transfer or whatever, anything like that. If you own shares on the NEO exchange in Canada, they're going to stay the same. You'll still have your NEO shares. Don't worry. I know some people are worried that they don't have NASDAQ shares, so they're not going to get the price benefit. No, you're going to have the exact same price benefit. It's all going to be amazing. So in this episode, we are going to talk about what this means, what the stock is going to do, and why this uplisting matters, and why it doesn't. But first, if you enjoy this episode, make sure you invest in the channel with your like and subscribe. Over time, you'll see your investment grow as we continue to bring you the information that you need to know before investing in the psychedelic medicines field. Enjoy the video. So, first off, we're going to discuss what this means. So now that MindMed is on a major exchange, retail investors that use platforms like Robinhood and Webull will have access to it. Now, this may seem like a small thing, but it really isn't. There are millions of people that use apps like Robinhood that now have access to investing in MindMed. And we see in the comments all the time, like, how do I get this if I have Robinhood? And the sad answer was you couldn't. But now you'll be able to as of Tuesday, or whenever Robinhood gets their stuff together and adds MindMed, which I assume will be on Tuesday, but I'm not 100% sure about that. And then second, so we've got our retail investors. The second big thing is that some large institutional investors, such as some types of banks, that were previously restricted from buying MindMed due to regulations, you can't really buy, or some institutions are restricted from buying on the OTC market because there's too much risk. But these institutions will now be able to buy MindMed. So those are the two big practical effects of MindMed being uplisted to the NASDAQ. It just allows a much larger pool of individuals, corporations, institutions to buy into MindMed. So now that we understand what the practical effects are going to be, what's the stock price going to do? I know that's what y'all are thinking, like, how's my money going to perform, basically. So right off the bat, no hiding it, the stock is likely to increase significantly. I don't have a magic ball. I wish I did. It would be really cool, but it could raise anywhere between, let's say, 20%, 30%, 50%. A doubling, a tripling, 4 times, 5x, I really don't know, but it will probably be significant. At the time of recording this, right before I started recording, I took a look at the stock price. We're at about 10 a.m. right now, and it had already gone up almost 50%. Maybe it's a bit more than 50% by now. So hopefully that will keep just skyrocketing. But again, I don't have a crystal ball. I know it will probably go up a lot. I just don't know how much. But in general, this is just going to put some upward pressure on the stock for a few reasons, and we'll go through those right now. So first of all is going to be the influx of all these new investors that we were just talking about, both the retail and the institutional that were previously not able to buy into MindMed. So this is just going to be, because there's more people that have access to it, there's going to be more people attempting to buy it, and then it's just simple supply and demand. All of a sudden, we have increased the demand, therefore, and we kept the supply steady, so therefore the stock price is going to rise a little bit. The second factor is that this stock now being on the NASDAQ will bestow quite a bit of legitimacy to MindMed, and it will essentially give permission to those who perhaps were on the fence but didn't want to gamble too much of their money on an OTC stock, because reminder, OTC stocks are generally considered to be much more risky than those on major exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. So again, this is just going to give permission to both individuals and institutional investors that were considering going into the psychedelic medicines landscape, but maybe didn't want to go to MindMed just because it was on the OTC market. One last potential upward potential, is now that it's on the NASDAQ, a lot of ETFs may start including MindMed into it. And this could be like the future upcoming psychedelic medicines ETFs, SIL, PSIL, but also just biotech ETFs in general could start adding them, medicine ETFs, I don't know. But I would expect if they keep getting good results, if everything keeps going smoothly, MindMed would slowly be added to more and more ETFs, which of course is more upward pressure. Having said all this, having said that it's going to explode, we don't know how much buy will explode, but something to keep in mind is that even though this stock is probably going to shoot up very high, again, 10, 20, 30x, or no, not 10, 20, excuse me, I meant to say 2, 3, 4, 5x. If it goes 30x, then see you guys all in Croatia. But something to keep in mind is after it shoots up like this, it's probably going to tumble back down a little bit as people start to take profits and find its new floor. So I don't know where this new floor is going to be, but perhaps it'll just be the midpoint between where it's at now and then the pinnacle to whatever it ends up shooting to. So let's say it 5x is. It may stay there for a little bit, but then people are going to take a little bit of profit and it might drop down to where it's only 3 times higher than it originally started. So I just want to say don't panic when this happens, and y'all should be long-term investors. Of course, this isn't investment advice, but personally I'm not going to really sell unless it goes insane into 10x's. I'm not going to sell anything. But yeah, just beware that after the initial hype, it probably will deflate a little bit. Now, let's talk about why this matters, and importantly, why it doesn't. And we're going to start with the latter. So first off, and this won't be surprising to literally anybody who watches this channel regularly, long term, this doesn't matter at all. All that matters for the long-term viability of MindMed as an investment is whether or not their medicines work. So MindMed has all these different programs trying to treat anxiety with LSD, trying to treat ADHD with LSD, trying to treat addiction with 18-MC, and the list just goes on and on. They're going to be using MDMA, they're going to be using DMT. So if these medicines work to treat these untreatable illnesses, I'll see you guys at Boat Week. If they don't, well then all I can say is I hope you're not too attached to your money. So it doesn't matter here whether or not, for the long term, whether or not they got accepted into the NASDAQ here, which they did. Celebrate, I'm partying, I'm hyped, but at the end of the day, their medicines need to work. So all MindMed investors, while seeing our stock portfolios, go to the moon, might give us a nice gooey feeling inside. Woo. We need to stay laser focused on what matters, and that is their clinical trial process. So this year, in that lens, they are going to be releasing phase 2A trial data, efficacy data for treating anxiety with LSD, which is their Project Lucy, and then they're going to progress the trial to phase 2B, and this is going to be a much more important event for us long-term investors in the NASDAQ uplisting, even though the stock is going to move much less in response to those events than it will to the NASDAQ. And that's just because the market is stupid. It doesn't react to what matters long term as much as it reacts to short term stimulus, essentially. So the only reason this does matter, I know I was just talking about how it doesn't matter, there is one big reason that this matters, and that is because it is going to rocket up MindMed's price in the short term, and when MindMed needs to raise capital, which they will, they are still a biotech company, they still have no revenue, they're still going to need to raise capital to fund all of their science projects to bring these drugs to market. But when they go to do that, because their stock price will be so much higher, they'll be able to raise this capital with much lower dilution. They will get more for less, which will be good for the company and its shareholders. Now, having said that, having said all these all these limiting factors, I am, as you can tell, super hyped. This is a major milestone for the company, and it's one that comes a little after 1 year of being listed on the OTC. So this is a very strong indication that our financial overlords on Wall Street can see the science that's being done by MindMed and other companies, but they see the science that's being done by MindMed in their labs, such as the Liechti lab in Switzerland, and they really see the potential here. Like, these aren't dummies. They can see these study results that are coming out and saying, yo, psychedelics, they're treating mental health disorders much better than current medicines are. So they can see there's a lot of money to be made here, which is part of the reason that this is going on to the NASDAQ. Very big milestone, very important. I'm super hyped. You should be super hyped. Yeah, and I'm just going to leave you guys here with a quote from the CEO, J.R. Ron. He says, "The listing of our stock on the NASDAQ represents a significant milestone in our growth as a publicly traded company. We believe this listing will increase our visibility in the marketplace, improve our liquidity, broaden and diversify our shareholder base, and ultimately enhance long-term shareholder value. I would like to thank our employees, management directors, and our many collaborators for their hard work in making MindMed a member of the NASDAQ exchange, an important step that will help facilitate our mission to discover, develop, and deploy psychedelic-inspired medicines and therapies to address addiction and mental illness." So that basically says it all. Very excited, huge milestone. Put this down in your calendars as one of the days that MindMed kind of made it. One of the days that they proved that they are a real company that very well could go to the moon. As a MindMed investor, I am super psyched. I actually just bought $1,000 worth of MindMed shares right now, so hopefully that was a good idea. I'm sure it will be, and I look forward to talking to you guys in the next episode. Perhaps we're going to have a little bit of a debrief on this. I'm not sure, but thank you guys all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and it will make sure that you guys keep seeing information that you need to see before investing in companies like MindMed. So that's all for today. If you want to see some more videos, please click on one of the videos you see on your screen now so we can, just spend a little bit more time together. We're just kind of getting to know each other. I'm starting to think I kind of like you. I think you're starting to think you kind of like me. So we'll talk again soon. This is James from The Psychedelic Investor. I'll see you guys next time. I love you all.